pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Almighty God, as we come together, we give you thanks for all the blessings that you've given us as individuals, that you've given us as the county educational system, that you've given our students. And we ask that you would continue to bless them through all the people that are involved, whether they're parents or guardians or staff members, that you would bless us as we serve them tonight in the decisions we make with wisdom and discretion. Amen. And no public comment, so that brings us down to student and staff recognition.
Okay, the November Academic Student of the Month is sophomore Susan Vinsel. She is the November Academic Student of the Month. She's daughter of Joe and Allison Vinsel Franklin. She's a member of the Pelton County High School varsity basketball and softball team. She is a member of Educators Rising, Pep Club, FCA, and Living Faith Church. Susan is on the A honor roll and was all PVC in volleyball. Susan plans on going to college to obtain a degree in elementary education. In the November James Huffman Responsible Student of the Month is a senior Lucas Van Devender is the November James Huffman Responsible Student of the Month at Pelton County High School. He's the son of DJ and Leanne Van Devender of Riverton. Lucas is the treasurer FFA, graduated from the Building Maintenance Program at South Branch Votech Center, where he is currently taking welding. He enjoys hunting and fishing, and Lucas plans to attend welding school and go straight to the workforce. That's it.
That's all for that. So the minutes of the November 12th board meeting, we've all received those. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes, or do we have a motion to approve them as presented?
So moved.
And a second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Then all in favor of approving the minutes from the November 12th board meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. And the motion passes. And that brings us down now to personnel.
Okay, and JP and I will get through this. He can watch me in case I make a mistake. On resignations and retirements, we have one resignation, one retirement. Michael I. is resigning as assistant head golf coach for Pelton County Middle High School, and Melinda Kopp is retiring as secretary at the central office.
Do you have a recommendation?
I-
That's what it says on there.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Charles.
We locked? And I recommend that we approve the retirements and resignations as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve the resignation of Michael I. and the retirement of Melinda Kopp. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And is it okay to add with regrets to the resignation? Or the retirement, I mean?
Yes.
So, any discussion on the motion to accept the resignation of Michael I. and the retirement with regrets of Melinda Kopp? And all those in favor of approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. Permission to post.
Permission to post extracurricular contract for autism case manager and an extracurricular contract for deafness case manager.
And you recommend we do?
I recommend that we do, yes.
We have our superintendent's recommendation to grant permission to post the two extracurricular contracts, one for autism case manager and one for deafness case manager. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approval of the two extracurricular contracts, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. Employment of personnel.
The only one I see is for Mike I., extracurricular head golf ball coach at Pelton County Middle High School. And you have my recommendation to approve Mike as the extracurricular head golf coach.
It's hard to do both parts of it, isn't it?
Yes.
We have our superintendent's recommendation to approve Mike I. as the extracurricular head golf coach at the high school, middle high school. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving Mike I as the extracurricular head golf coach for Pendleton County Middle High, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. And I think that brings us down to volunteers and chaperones.
And under volunteers and chaperones, we have Samantha Harper at Brandywine Elementary School as a volunteer and chaperone, and James Wood as a volunteer at Pendleton County Middle High School, and I do recommend that we approve these.
Our superintendent's recommending we approve this volunteers and chaperones as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving Samantha Harper and James Woods as volunteer and chaperones, please signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed, no. Motion passes. They are approved. I think that finishes us up under leaves of absence and brings us down to finance.
Okay, under finance, under 6A, we have the treasurer's report for November. I'm going to pull up here shortly onto the screen. So this is a slow start to our cash balance declining. We've had several months with taxes and lesser expenses and federal reimbursements ramping up our cash balance. So this month we started with a cash balance $37,24,884.17. Receipts for the month are $882,394.55. Disbursements for the month, for the first time in several, exceeded receipts. They were $1,227,628.27. That brings us to a current month ending fund balance of $3,379,650.45. Still a healthy fund balance by historical standards for this time of the year, but this is the time as taxes decline, other expenses pick up, state aid's not full yet, that we will see a decline over the next number of months on that. But still a healthy balance. We did have one deposit in transit that was on the 29th, I believe, of November, 11/646/36, that did not show in the bank statement until December. That all ties back to $33,79,650.45 as our ending fund balance. Interest earned, a 4.7% interest rate, again over $13,860.82. So again, a large balance, even though the rates have dropped a little. Year to date, July through November, $54,916.18. So again, a good month of interest earned. The second page just has a breakdown of the various bills, which we're going to approve here shortly through the bills. Regular bills, electronic payments, one voided check. Gross payroll for the month, $829,679.55. Total disbursements ties back to the treasurer's report. Then we have the net check. So again, summarizing back on page one, the first page, ending the month with a decrease of not quite $350,000, or there about $3,379,650.45.
Yeah, my recommendation to approve the treasurer's report for November 2024.
Our superintendent's recommending we approve the November treasurer's report. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving the November 30th treasurer's report, please signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed, no. Motion passes.
The next item would be 6B, bills for approval. So 6B, bills, I'm going to bring those up on the screen. You have those as well. I did also email those out. So total bills, again, tying back to the treasurer's report with regular checks and electronic payments and the void, $641,845.04 total bills for November. Then some of the highlights of the bills. So one of the highlights we hope has a lot of use for a very, very long time in our school system is a transit van, a Ford transit van off a national EPA contract, which means for purchasing requirements, it meets all the requirements to go out for bid. It's already been put out to bid. It's on a national contract. It meets that criteria. Did take it for a small test run, and it seems like a very nice van that hopefully the high school and maybe others over time can benefit from going to various events. And that's all I have to say on that, but that was a purchase, and that we hope will benefit us for many, many, many years to come.
Now that 15 passenger, we talked maybe last meeting, that allows anybody to drive it, correct?
Charles
Is
will
it
follow
Charles?
that.
Is there a number there?
No, I sent out a memo today, actually, putting some restrictions. There had to be some training done
Okay.
to make sure that there's some driving skills taking place, and just to make sure that, they've had a little experience driving a
You
larger.
don't have to have
vehicle.
CDLs or anything?
No, you do not have to
Stay
have
in that 15
CDLs.
pound,
But
okay.
you do have to have approval from the transportation director and
Okay.
do
That's
some
good.
things,
That's-
so.
Good idea.
But there's still a maximum number, right, Charles, that can go?
Right, you can only have up to 10.
Right.
And that includes the driver, so you're talking about 9 students.
So this may allow for additional storage, or even though it's large enough to hold 15, it may allow for additional storage.
There'll be some seats that, the back seat, for example, we'll take out because it's right against the back. I mean, there's no room to put
Like
anything
golf
in there
clubs
right
and
now.
stuff like
so,
that and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this what they were talking about for the golf?
Yes, it is.
Golf and track.
It is
Okay.
similar to some other school districts. One event I was at this fall, there were quite a few vans in the parking lot, and there were some similar vans to this, so yeah. The next page, had some bleacher repair, Davis Athletics, I think out of the Parkersburg area. Bleacher repair, I think at the middle high school, I think for some of the indoor bleachers that weren't operating properly and were hard to get in and out. And I think, according to Travis, what I heard from him, they did a good work out there for the bleacher repair. The next item for conversation, when you have a lot of stuff, you have a lot to maintain. And whether it's HVAC or bleachers or kitchen disposals, Franklin Elementary School had a disposal go down there, and then there's a repair price in Hobart, which has good service and good equipment, but over an $8,000 expense to fix a kitchen disposal at FES. And so that's what it took. It's back up and running. We're trying to update the sensors, maintaining on child nutrition, the sensors that tell us the temperatures. We're trying to update the system there, so when something happens that's faulty, we can get a better feel for that. We have a sensor system now, but it doesn't send enough alerts, we don't think, if a freezer goes below a certain temperature, so we're trying to upgrade that. The next item for a note is electric, which is nothing outstanding there. It just goes to show that for the month of October, paid November, $20,500.76. That's pretty much all the locations. The bottom of that same page, Otis Elevator. Again, it's a maintenance contract that we have, required to have elevators to provide services in certain situations to students or others who may need it. And so it's a maintenance contract with Otis Elevator, 292704. I remember when that was like a $1,500 expense, but over time those things do change. Bottom of the next page, at page 6, Savas Math, $18,292.50. I know Travis isn't here right now, but he could probably speak to that. But that's kind of wrapping up some of the purchases for this year, I believe. Of course, we're already through the year, but there are a couple remaining things need to be purchased. So that was $18,292.50. The bottom of the next page is simply just says food. That's on our P-card, purchasing card program, over $60,000 of food for the month of October, which is all the various food supplies for the various county schools. And sometimes there's some minor fruits and vegetables and milk purchased as well. So again, if any of us have eaten out or purchased groceries, obviously we know food inflation and everything there as we've talked about. So that's $60,000 for Gordon Food. That's all the individual comments I have. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them the best that I can. But total bills for the month, $641,845.04.
You have my recommendation for approval of the bills for November 2024.
Our superintendent's recommending that we pay the bills for November 2024. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Then all in favor of paying the $641,845.04 in total bills for November, please signify by saying aye. And opposed, no. Motion passes. We'll pay the bills.
All right, so I don't have any budget revisions for tonight's meeting. Financial update, I will have some probably preliminary comments at the next meeting as the state looks at the enrollment. Of course, you have the 1,400 floor, but also looks at other things, factors in, to give some preliminary numbers for budget purposes. So I'll have some data at the next meeting in 2 weeks, and then upcoming meetings going forward for that. That brings us to 6E, which is lease purchase of a new bus. I will pull it up here on the screen. It is a bus that has been ordered. It takes about a year or a year and a half to do an order and then to get everything through the factory. And even though it's not quite as long as it used to be, it's still quite a lengthy process. So this is a 77 passenger bus that's in there. Is to be lease purchased. It's off of a state contract off of these, it's 147, 427 if we paid cash. And yes, we could pay cash for it given our cash balance, but the way the formula works, we're trying to maintain a healthy cash balance to keep us going forward. And the way the formula works, when you add a bus to your fleet, it increases your bus replacement money. This amount would increase at about $10,000 a year in bus replacement. Over the life of this, we will pay $20,000 or $30,000 of interest, but $10,000 a year bus replacement will more than offset over 4 years any interest that we would pay. So it frees up our cash, spreads it out over 4 years, increases bus replacement money. So really, it's really like it costs us no interest basically to spread it out and conserve our cash and help us to have those in case we need it for other purposes. So this is a lease purchase, 4 years for a 77 passenger bus. So that's all that I have on that.
You have my recommendation to approve the lease purchase of a new bus as presented.
We have a superintendent's recommendation to approve the lease purchase of the new bus. So that would be the purchase of the bus and also the lease agreement that follows there.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
You know, as we buy these buses, I understand the bigger, more passenger buses, you know, for ball games or trips like that, but do we ever buy the smaller buses as our student population gets smaller and our roads
Well, we
get
do buy some of the 54 passenger
54 is the
buses.
smallest we buy?
Yeah, I don't know the current breakdown of how many we have.
But Sonny, one of the things you have to understand is 77 is 3 kids on a seat.
Yeah, that's true too, yeah.
So really, a 77 passengers, about 55 high school kids max. So you're looking at about a 50 passenger bus, because when they say 77 passengers, we're talking about 3 elementary kids on every single seat of that bus.
Okay.
It's truly not a 77
And they're really
passenger bus.
not as big as what you think when you meet them
No.
and stuff. Okay. I think you did tell me that before, it was 3 us to see.
So it is something to factor in mind, but as Mr. Hedrick said, you know, you have those considerations to keep on there. So,
And it'd be tough, 3 high school kids get on those seats.
It'd be
all right.
impossible.
When I was,
Any more discussion? Then all in favor of the purchase for the 147, 427, and the lease for 4 years at 6.23 with the payment of $44,268.23, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And
Aye.
opposed, no. Motion passes.
It'd be interesting sometime just to see the age of our fleet, you know, our bus fleet.
we could print. Lisa keeps a very precise inventory on my side on fixed assets, so we could come up with an inventory list and show that to you, the bus fleet. Yes.
I don't know how many buses we
It
have.
is interesting.
How many buses we have in the county.
We have 18 regular routes, and then I don't know how many spares we have right
I think
now.
there's, I want to say, is there 10?
At least 10
I want to
spares.
say there's 10 spares.
Yeah,
When
it's
when
close
you
regular.
when you see the number, it reads like 77 passenger, and then it'll tell you what year we bought it. So the second 2 numbers will tell you how old the bus is.
I don't know, I meet them in the evening, whew, I feel like there's bus.
So that's all under
Bunch
finance.
of them.
That's all under finance, and so that brings us down to facilities.
Made it just in time.
Your timing was perfect.
So we'll talk a little bit more about the Alt Ed building. We're trying to get plans together here to get the move made out to the building. I think the last meeting, Carrie shared a little bit. We had a few things that the fire marshal wanted us to complete before we made the move. We've taken care of those things. We did tidy up a little bit out around the building. We've installed some gravels. We've got the parking blocks that we need to get put in as soon as the weather warms up a little bit more. And we fixed a few things inside that we wanted to get taken care of before we move the students in. So I've talked to both Mr. Hebner and Mr. Vance about the move, and they're packing things and going through stuff to decide what they want to move and what they don't want to move. And once we find some weather that we can make the move, we're going to go ahead and make the move. Today, Eric was installing camera system in there, so they'll be able to monitor what's going on each side. That was one of the last things that we wanted to get taken care of in there. So we're getting close, and hopefully that'll be off my facilities update very soon. But that's been kind of a long process. And I think the other thing we want to try to do is to do some sort of an opening ceremony or something like that with the folks that made that from the prison. So I'm going to reach out to them and see if we can get a time that might work for them to come down and get the newspaper there, and maybe he can interview them a little bit, and we can kind of do an official opening of that building. But it's been a long process, I know. Other than that, I am working with trying to get a replacement door put on out at the CAN building. The double glass door out there has been damaged several times. It's been replaced once or so times, and we're going to do something a little bit better than that. So what happens is they swing it open, they back up, and they end up backing into them. So we're going to put some metal poles there to keep the protection to the building, but also put a roll-up style door in there. So we're going to try to get that taken care of fairly soon as well. We did have a little accident out on the corner out here after we fixed the corner of our building here a couple weeks ago. One of the trucks turning in, even though I angled it off to take a couple feet off of it, he turned in there and clipped the building again. So luckily this time we knew who it was, and we were able to get the sheriff to come up and write an accident report and get the insurance and stuff. So I'll be working on trying to get that repaired. I've asked for a couple changes. We'll see if we can get those accomplished, but I'd like to put some sort of a pole or something in that corner so when they cut in there they know they've hit it, because that guy swore that he didn't hit it, even though I had pictures that he hit it, and he had damage on the side of his truck. But that's a problem area there, and even with the change of taking several feet off, when they try to swing wide, if it's not a driver familiar, they want to come up on that curb and that still hits. So that's a little bit of an issue. So we'll continue to try to fix that and get that taken care of. Other than that, I can't
What
think
comes
of
in are big trucks mainly for the post office?
It's a single axle box truck that
For
comes
post
in there
office.
for the post
Yeah.
office.
So
And
it really-
it's
they
a
couldn't-
contract driver out of somewhere else that's coming in, and
And they couldn't not do that, another way to get the mail.
well, so whenever they can't make that, then they go up and they make the next turn where it's the exit, which I guess they really don't want them to do, because then they got to maneuver around in the lot there to get backed
Yeah.
up and get their drop off. So ideally, that's the right place to go in. It's just not made for that. So it's a challenge.
There's a
Travis, you-
telephone pole across the street, and I mean,
Yeah, there's
So you
something,
can't-
you can't swerve real wide, because
Right,
then
up front
you
to
got
left.
issues on the other side too.
You have gotten some estimates at the stuff at North Fork.
We're
Correct,
working on
working
those
on it.
couple things, yes. I met with a guy from Harrisonburg that we've been getting blinds from. Last Wednesday, we walked through, did all the measurements there for the classroom windows. And Lisa and I are working on getting a vendor that we can take care of those entrance doors, that some of the things that they had talked about at the last meeting. So yeah, we're moving forward on those things, just getting our vendors set up and stuff like
they
that.
mentioned the curtain. Where are we at with the curtain?
At North Fork.
Yeah.
So today, I actually met with a guy from Parkersburg, from Davis Athletics. He deals in curtains there as well. So he stopped in at North Fork to take a look at the curtain again and see if we can get another estimate on the replacement of that and see what else we might need with that. But he's got a contact out of a company out of North Carolina that might be an option for us as a curtain. So.
Any questions about anything else or any?
I did have a few students complain about the lockers at the middle school. Were they
We're
that
working-
bad?
We're
Or they?
We're working on that too.
Just
Okay.
looking at
The
this
same,
today.
the
I didn't know
same
if it was
guy
the students or-
that was in from Davis Athletics, he deals in the locker business too. And I
Okay.
was trying to get as many things accomplished today as I could. We actually walked the entire school.
Okay.
And we've got all the measurements, and he had made a couple recommendations, but to change a couple things, but I think in our situation, we probably need to stick with a similar number of lockers right now, even though I know our population's down a little bit, just in case there's changes in the future. So we've got some things. He's going to give me a couple different options, and my thought is maybe looking at doing it in several phases, so it's not a big cost up front.
Okay.
He said ever since COVID, the metal prices is through the roof. And he's got some suggestions to help us save a little bit of money there, but he also wants to make sure that they're durable. And
Yeah.
so the gauge of metal that we use in certain parts of the lockers, we got to be careful with. My thought would be what you said is to start down in the middle school area. That seems where we have the most problem, and then work our way up through the building.
Okay.
So yeah, we're going to try to see what we can do there.
Okay.
Travis, does that whole ed building have bathroom facilities, or do they still have to go there?
They still have to go inside. There's no plumbing out there.
There's no plumbing.
Yep.
That's something to think about.
It's
doing.
never been any plumbing out there, even in the old building that was there, so that we didn't put bathrooms back in her. So, yeah, they still have to go back inside.
Anything additional?
That's it.
Thank you. And nothing under old business, so that brings us to new business and Eastern Affiliation Agreement.
Pull that up. This is the affiliation agreement between Eastern Community and Technical College Nursing Program and us, and we have approved it in the past. And JP and I have looked over, we don't see anything out of the ordinary. I would recommend approval of the affiliation agreement between Eastern Community and Technical College's Nursing Program and Pendleton County Board of Education.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve the affiliation agreement with Eastern. Do we have a motion?
So
So-
moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving the affiliation agreement between Eastern West Virginia Community Technical College and Pendleton County Board of Education for the nursing program, please signify by saying aye. And opposed, no. Motion passes. And that finishes up new business, and we come to other, the third month attendance report.
Okay, so I'll hit Carrie's too while she's here. If you pull that up, I'll just kind of, and you can look at the graph, but the best individual grade percentage was Brandywine's first grade at 97.932. And then if you look at best individual school percentage, that was North Fork Elementary at 95.783. Best county grade level percentage was first grade at 96.55. And overall county, all grades were 93.955. And if you have any questions, you can save them for Carrie for the next meeting.
Okay. Well, since we can't have any questions at this one, we'll move down to school improvement and student achievement update.
Okay, so not a whole lot to share here, but November 21st, we did have our second benchmark due with our schools, and that data did come in. Mr. Hedrick has compiled some of that. He does share a proficiency report with each principal and the teachers at the school, so we've looked at the data there a little bit, which looks pretty good, and we'll continue to try to improve that data. We are only a few weeks away from ending the semester. It's hard to believe that the first semester is almost over, but we're just a couple weeks away from finishing the semester up. So January the 2nd, we have a professional learning day. Barb and I are working on getting a list of items together that we're going to be working on that day. It's incomplete at this time, but that is an upcoming event as well for school improvement. So, Mr. Hedrick, I don't know if you have anything else to add in that.
I'll just add it under my superintendent's update.
Okay.
Any questions? Thank you. Then I guess we are down to the superintendent's update.
Well, one of the things Travis mentioned is we've gotten the data back from our second benchmark, and I have already reviewed it with a couple of the principals, and I will finish reviewing that. It gives us an opportunity. It's just a kind of another piece to the puzzle that Ms. Whitecotton's been working a lot, looking at individual student data with the teachers and with the principals, and I continue to look at our proficiency data. Just shows how many students are on track to be proficient at the end of the school year. Same, that we looked at last year, and as Travis said, we're doing fairly well as we were last year, and we want to continue. We want to tweak where we can and improve our instruction where we see areas where we need to improve. Second thing, we've used our first non-traditional instructional day, Summer Saver Day 1, and that was November 22nd, right before break. And this week, weather permitting, The West Virginia Department of Education will review our child nutrition program. It's been a few years since that's happened because of COVID, but if the weather holds out for them later in the week, because I think they're supposed to come up like Wednesday, Thursday, they may change their mind coming into the mountains, but if they do, they'll be reviewing our programs, and that's all I have for my updates.
Okay, any questions for the superintendent under the updates? Then we have conference and meeting update.
At South Branch Career and Technical Center, JD and I are tomorrow morning at 8:30. Next week, interims are the 9th and 10th, and they don't have their agenda out yet. I think once I see that agenda, may make a decision whether I need to go to Charleston on the 9th or 10th. On the 11th, we'll be traveling out to Wheeling for our Superintendent's Association's meetings on Wednesday evening and Thursday and Friday. And I think that's it until our next.
Okay. And then our next meeting will be held at Franklin Elementary School on Tuesday, December the 17th at 6 o'clock after an LSIC presentation. So we need to be there at what time? 5:30? Okay.
And we have not rescheduled the Pelham County High School LSIC meeting, but it will not be the first meeting in January.
Okay. I will now accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those-
Second.